All right, we're going to talk about a few things today, two things today specifically. Just discuss quickly. We were talking about civil liberties the last couple times we were here. Got through the first 10 amendments. There's several amendments after that, obviously. Two amendments are very specific that stand out: the abolition of slavery, okay, and the rights, rights to vote for women. So those are very important. As far as the 27 amendments go, how do you amend what does it mean to amend a constitution? It means to change it, correct? Yeah. I do believe that there is a case to be made for the states at this point to do this. I'd like to do it personally, if I had the chance, but they don't give one, college professor the chance to do it, right? How do you change the Constitution of the United States of America? You can't?
I mean...
Well, if there are 27 of them, it sounds like it has been changed.
I mean...
It has been changed.
Yes.
Okay, it's been changed. Okay? Some of the amendments are not as exciting as others. But the key, what we're trying to deal with now is if you determine, first of all, why would you change the Constitution?
To adapt to new laws?
Well, laws are not, laws have to be in line with the Constitution. The Constitution itself is not considered like a law. Then start as a bill, right? Go through committee, get to the floor, up to the Senate, and all that stuff. No, back down and, then across the president's desk. That's not how it works. You generally need 2/3 majority of both the House and the Senate to change the Constitution, to amend the Constitution. And if you can't get 2/3 of both of those, you're just not going to do it unless, and here's the other way, 2/3 of the states do it. So we have 50 states, and whatever is 2/3 of the states, right, would require them through a constitutional convention, right, through their, they would have to have a constitutional convention to change it. Now, I like that idea that the states have power to change it because you have two governmental sources that have the option to do this. You have the federal government that could change itself if it recognizes that why would you change? Let's go back to the Declaration of Independence. You hope that you realize that the Constitution as written does not secure the rights of man, right? Where it says whenever governments become destructive of these ends, it is the right of the citizens to alter or to abolish, right? And then to erect new governments that will do such things. And now, of course, that's my paraphrase. So you like to think, okay, where our government is imperfect, because no governments are perfect. No governments are perfect because governments are created by man. So they're either not perfect in how they are written or not perfect in how they're executed. And thus you may want to alter the written document, the Constitution, which is the rules of the game, right? So that they are more, just. So that they do secure the rights of man, because governments are instituted among men to secure these rights, as Thomas Jefferson would say, right? And so if it's failing to do so, you alter it. And if it's so bad, then you abolish it. Now, there are groups out there right now that want to abolish our Constitution. Antifa and Black Lives Matter are two to come to mind, all right? They'd like to replace it with something more akin to some kind of communist, socialist, Marxist type government. They believe somehow that will be more just. You don't think that they believe it'll be more just?
I mean, like you said, no government's perfect, but I feel like somehow in our way, ours is a little better than like Marxism.
Just a little?
A lot.
How many millions of people? Now, granted, this American government it did inherit slavery, correct? And so for several years it practiced slavery, right? Is that just? No, it's not just. But given that it inherited it, the whole world, the whole history of Earth had practiced slavery up to that point, right? The fact that America ended slavery is a pretty amazing feat. And this is where we'll talk about just a little bit about the 13th Amendment today. We'll read it. It's amazing that America did that. And then went so much further than that, that even afterwards, we had the Civil Rights Acts, okay? 1866, and I think the one in the 60s, right? And you go, well, it's amazing that America has done this stuff. Now, some people don't believe that we've gone far enough, and some people would argue we've gone backwards. And Joe Biden would say there are groups out there trying to put you back in chains. That's the verbiage he used. I think he was being very hyperbolic, to say the least, if not lying, to even say more. So yeah, the motive to change the Constitution, to amend it, should be to improve upon the rules of the game in such a way that it better secures the rights of man. But what happens when you disagree that natural rights exist? Well, then you disagree with the premise upon which you would do such a thing, right? Like if you say, well, I don't believe in God. So for example, Marxists generally don't believe in God, okay? And if you don't believe in God, well, then you don't believe that all men are created equal. Because all men aren't created if God doesn't exist. Man is an accident. So then what turns out to be rights? What turns out to be justice? And then there's a whole set of assumptions underlying Marxism. Collectivism, globalism, not individualism, that you yourself are not valuable as an individual. It is the whole that is valuable. You are expendable. All right, and that's clear in how China works and how the USSR worked. That the individual, there's no individual glory. There's no, you can make it. It's not about you. It's about the whole. You're a cog. You're a part. Everybody's equal, right? The state is great. You're not. Okay, now there are a lot of criticisms about communism, but this isn't, we're talking about amending the Constitution, not necessarily about communism. But I would say that there are those who would like to get rid of it, all right? And that's fair. If they want to get rid of it, they want to alter or abolish it, they want to abolish it. Now, I mean, certainly you could abolish our Constitution and still be in line with the Declaration of Independence. You'd be somebody who believes in God, believes that rights exist. You just believe that another Constitution would do it better than the one we have. And that's fair. Your goal is the same, to secure the rights of man. Which rights? The ones that come from God. That would be fair. And you just say, I just believe there's a better way to do that. The one we have right now is pretty bad. I don't believe so. I think it's fine. It's worked pretty well. We've done a great job of changing this Constitution in light of our understanding of where we've gone wrong. Okay? So if we were saying, let's take away voting rights for women, I think we might argue that, no, women are humans. All humans have the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Women have the right to liberty. That means they should have a right to have a say in government, to provide for their liberty. Ergo, they have a right, tertiary right to vote. Okay, why would we take that away? Okay, then I'd say we're going backwards. If we were saying we need to reinstitute slavery, I would not be surprised. In fact, I know for a fact that there are people calling for slavery to this day as reparations for past slavery. So I would be the guy in chains, okay? Because of my skin color and somehow, but some people would call those fringe groups, but they exist. And I'd say that'd be a step backwards, wouldn't you? Say that our government is not. So you don't want to amend the Constitution, get rid of the 13th Amendment, amend it again and get, rid of this idea. But if you did want to amend it, your hope to amend it is so that the result is better in securing the rights of man. That's the goal of amending the Constitution, is recognizing where it falls short, it doesn't adequately secure the rights of man in a particular area, and after you do so, then you want to change it. The thing is, you want to make it hard enough to change so that it doesn't just change as easily as the opinions of man. Because humans can be very easily swayed via emotion and not easily swayed via reason. We can be swayed by use of fear, as you can see by the mask I'm wearing. Okay? But reason is something else. And that requires us to sit down and think through things and ask the question, is it possible I am wrong? It is without emotion, okay? It is without, and fear we'll call an emotion for this example. Are any of you watching, paying attention to the trial in Minnesota, the Chauvin trial?
I've been seeing a few clips on social media.
Clips, don't watch the clips.
I haven't really paid attention to it.
You know why I say don't watch the clips? Because clips are selectively clipped. The person who clipped that says, I want you to see this clip. Right? What clips have you watched? Have you watched the defense or have you watched the prosecution?
Both sides.
Have you watched both sides?
Yeah.
Dude, that's the trick. If you're going to watch the prosecution's witness, especially the expert witness, right? If the prosecution is calling it, that means it's good for his case, correct? Then you better watch the cross-examination. Because there's a lot of people there who are emotionally charged, right? And they're willing to say certain things because they want a certain outcome. And they're professional witnesses. I will come be your professional witness as a cardiologist. I watched this guy yesterday, cardiologist. Okay. And of course, he tells the guy, oh yeah, no connection between heart attacks and, high blood pressure. I'm like, really? Really? Huh? All this time, they called it the silent killer. Who would have known? But then the guy, the defense attorney gets up and gets a chance to ask him a few questions, very respectful. And you're going, okay. And that's where the real adversarial account in court happens, is when he gets to challenge the witness. And he's a professional challenger. I mean, that's what the defense does, is he challenges the guy's testimony, okay? If you're watching that, you get a sense and if you just take your emotion, which is very hard to take your emotions out of it, but if you watch it and you go, from a rational sense, I'm still watching going, this is pretty, you got one guy here saying the guy killed him and he wanted to kill him, and you could tell, from the way he's putting his knee on his back. It was his neck, but now it's his back. Then the other guy goes, how could you read his mind? I can't read his mind. Well, okay, then how do you know that? Well, okay, are you a psychologist? No. All right, but it's really cool stuff. So you're sitting there watching, and you don't. The idea is to suspend some kind of conclusion until you've heard it all, right? Rather than listening to the clips or the news. Please don't listen to the news. I'm sorry to say, it's amazing that you have to say that these days. I don't care what news you watch. It doesn't matter. Do not trust the news. I worked for them. Okay? Well, anyway, point being, You don't want people's emotions and their feelings to get them to change the Constitution so easily. You got to make it hard. So it's a very hard process to do. It's very hard to get 2/3 of the legislatures to get this done. It is even harder to get 2/3 of the states to have a convention to change it. But I believe and this is why I said earlier, I was saying I believe this should take place, that the states should take back their federal power. I'm kind of like that. I kind of like the states' rights, you know? And if the states were to amend the Constitution, it would be the first time, you know, that they've done so. And I think that'd be kind of cool. It'd be their way to say, hey, look, guys, we think the federal government's gotten out of hand. We're going to add an amendment to the Constitution that limits the federal government. However they do it, I don't care. Just something, you know, just to say they can. And that might just be me just saying, you know, the states could flex their muscles a bit. What would it take? That would mean 2/3 of the states would get together. They would decide that there's going to be a constitutional convention. Then they would vote on that amendment. Now, interestingly enough, I mean, they could certainly take, if all one political party decided to do this, they could. I think the number of states, I don't know, it's 2-1 right now, but I think the Republicans are pretty close to it. And that would probably upset California and New York. And that'd be kind of fun. So, because I like upsetting them. Well, so let's pretend they do amend the Constitution. What kind of amendment would you like to see take place? What would be an important amendment? What are amendments for? Are they for restricting the people, or are they for restricting the government?
I think restricting the government.
You'd hope so, because I mean, obviously, so, you know, when you're talking about, you know, the Bill of Rights and stuff, we're trying to protect people, right? And what are we trying to protect them from?
The government.
Yeah. I mean, free speech. Who's going to infringe on your free speech? It's the government's going to infringe on your free speech, right? Who's going to put military troops in your house? It's going to be the government. You don't have your own military, do you? Who's going to take away your guns? It's going to be It's going to be the government again. Who's going to say you cannot? Now, I tell you, don't listen to journalists and the news. That doesn't mean I don't believe they should exist, because I do think they should exist. That allows us to listen to opposing voices. Heck, if they didn't exist, I wouldn't know who to disagree with besides our textbook author. So, of course, you know, it's kind of weird. We got the fox guarding the hen house, the government protecting us from whom? Itself, right? Anyway, so that's what generally I'd like to think that these are for. So if we were going to write come up with a new amendment, what would we do? Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the amendments are amending how the voting process works, having to do with the president versus the vice president elections, stuff like that. That's fair. We'll talk a little bit about elections, because we're going to have to get into elections soon, which may or may not be today. But so what would is there anything that the government needs to protect that the government is not protecting? Or if there's something, look, I'm going to give you my amendment after you guys give me all of yours. It's not necessarily a civil right, though. What do you, and it would require the states to do it, I think. I don't think the Congress, legislative branch, is going to do it. What do you think? Give me something you'd like to change.
You mean like on the Constitution?
Yeah, amend the Constitution for me. Or do you think it's perfect? Is it a perfect document? It's a pretty dang good document.
Wow. Well, I mean, it seems okay to me so far. I mean,
So far? Is America a perfect place?
no.
How could it improve?
I don't know, to be honest.
Think about it. Think about it as you complain. Not that you complain much, but I'm just saying as one were to complain. about this government we have. Oh my God, the government's so bad. We need to do. What do you think there? Like, you don't think about life's good, right?
It's decent.
Life's decent. I'll stick around for a while.
I mean, I don't
You
know.
got any ideas? You're not from here. You're an outsider looking in. Now you're amongst us. You could go, okay, I like this place, but
I think that there should be more strict on the on illegal immigration.
what should happen with immigration?
I mean, they should have like strict laws that would at least.
We don't have strict laws on immigration?
I don't think they do.
Why don't you type on your computer and type in immigration laws?
If people can come in easily, then it's not hard for them to get in.
So you're saying we should make it harder for them to get here?
Right, like
You should. Are you suggesting we should like build a wall or something to keep them out?
Well, I mean, if that's an option, then yeah.
It's definitely an option. How long have you been in America now?
2 years.
2 years. So you're here for the Donald Trump presidency, correct?
Yes.
And he did run on the idea of building a wall, correct?
Yes.
You did know that a certain political party ran in major opposition to that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Some people in our country want our country to have no borders, that anybody and everybody can come in.
Then that's gonna cause disorder.
It's going to cause disaster?
No disorder, like.
Disorder.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Some would believe that. Yeah. How so?
I mean, if people can come in easily, then how is the government going to be able to, I don't know, keep track of
Should the government be keeping track of us?
I mean, of people coming in.
I don't want them to keep track of me.
No, not you, because you're already here, but the people coming in.
Well, once they're okay.
Yeah.
Should the government keep track of people coming in?
Exactly, because they need to know, like.
You say yes. I didn't say exactly. I mean, should they? I mean,
Yes, they should.
why?
Because they need to know the numbers of immigrants we have in America.
Well, that's why we have censuses. You know, what a census is where we do
Yeah,
head
yeah.
counts.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, I'm not for, look, I believe in immigration laws. I think people should follow the laws to come into our country. Why do people come into our country? Because economic opportunity, right? Because where they're coming from, Costa Rica perhaps, Nicaragua, all sorts of places. Not just south of our border, north of our border, and from other countries across, the pond. They'll come here. You came here all the way from, don't remind me, Cote d'Ivoire?
Congo, you know.
Congo. Ew. I can't believe I forgot that. Right. Okay. So yeah, you came here for a long way. Why? Because you wanted to learn, and maybe you'll get some better economic opportunities if you stay. If you go back, you still have a better opportunity because you're educated, right? Okay. Leah, did you look up immigration laws?
I did.
No, I saw you
I did
just
put
doing
it
it.
up, and it's a lot.
Look up some of the immigration laws. The question isn't whether or not we have the laws. The question is whether or not we enforce them. Okay?
So
It's illegal to come in our country without documentation.
right.
You're called an illegal immigrant or an illegal alien. Somebody comes from another place as an alien, right? Not an extraterrestrial.
No, I know.
That's somebody from another planet. Alien just means somebody from somewhere else. Okay? Now, if you do that, you've broken a law. You are a lawbreaker. That is a fact. You've broken immigration laws. Okay? People go, they're honest. Well, not necessarily. They broke the law. They came in. Now, they may have really wanted to come here because they're really trying to escape somewhere really bad. I understand that. Okay? But the question is, should we amend the Constitution to make, to do what? How would we do that? Would we say, thou shalt not come? Well, saying that's not going to stop them. Okay? But some people might want to amend the Constitution that says, there shall be no borders on our country and all are welcome. Now that would have a problem. I mean, it'd have a problem with bringing in people, bringing in drugs, because you wouldn't have any enforcement of people coming across the border, checking any of this. They wouldn't have to sneak. We have a problem with slavery in America right now, with human trafficking. Okay, go ahead.
Don't you think if we have a lot of immigrants in America, there'll be job scarcity?
Yes,
Exactly. So isn't that like a problem?
it is a problem.
Yeah. So which means it's one of the reasons.
It's not a problem for me. Not a lot of PhDs are coming across the border. It's a problem for people who want to do construction. It's a problem for people who want to do house cleaning, for people who want to do landscaping, for people who want to do labor, for people who want to work in manufacturing.
Well,
It's for anybody who has basically a high school education,
mhm.
and even college education. It's a problem for them
Well, if
because you're
that's-
flooding the market with unskilled labor,
That's
or
right,
maybe
I mean,
skilled labor, but uncertified labor. For example, to teach this job, you can't just come in here and undercut me. You have to show you got a PhD, got to show all sorts of credentials and stuff. But I don't have to show any of that to be somebody's nanny, to be somebody's house cleaner, to be somebody's. My mom was a house cleaner, right? She would never be able to make it nowadays because she'd be undercut completely. Somebody come in and go, I could do it for half that much.
Well, here's the thing. So he said that it shouldn't be a problem for you, but what if they come in, they get education, and then at some point they have the PhD? Let's say myself.
Yeah, they're gonna have to 12 years post high school.
Right.
You know.
It may not affect you directly, but what about your children?
Yeah, they're children. Yeah, yeah. If they come here, they're naturalized citizens. So that's part of the goal. So it's been stated, and I believe it's true.
Mhm.
Now, somebody may disagree with me, and I don't care. I believe it's been a tactic of the Democratic Party to bring in as many illegal aliens as possible because, by and large, it's said about 2/3 of them vote Democrat or lean Democrat. And so if they become, Hispanic people who lean 2/3 Democrat, if they bring in a bunch of illegal aliens, they're counting on their votes if they ever become citizens. So what they're doing is they're bringing in people, they're importing votes, and the goal is political power. Okay, it's not about the people coming in, it's about the people who want their votes. That's what immigration is often about. Okay, I'm very cynical about that, but I do know political parties are very, they make plans, okay, and they have goals, and it's about power. Okay, been in this game long enough to know how people are. So, does it hurt the citizenry here? Yes, it does, because if I double the labor force, I cut the value of the labor force in half. Did you catch that? It's kind of like saying if I double the amount of money out there, I cut the value of that money in half. If I double the labor force, I cut the value of it in half. Because supply and demand, right? There's a greater supply of something, then the value of it drops. You start flooding the market with things, and then the value goes down. So you're right on that. The thing is, they're not flooding the market with PhDs right now.
Mhm.
Now, will my kid have to compete with their kid?
Mhm.
Sure. I get it, yeah. Will your kid have to, and what about you if you want to become a citizen here and you're filling out the paperwork and doing it right? Is that fair to you?
I mean, yeah, it is.
It's not fair to you if they're coming in illegally and getting the jobs that you got and you had to wait in line.
Yeah, that's right. On the job side, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, but we're talking about the Constitution. So if we amend the Constitution, how would you amend it to deal with this?
Well, if
Some people believe that there should be a pathway to citizenship that is a lot easier
easier,
or faster.
I mean,
That way those who want to become citizens can become citizens and they're not inclined to jump the line.
At this point, I think it's fair, like the citizenship process.
You think it's fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's fair.
You just do it and you go through the process and you'll be okay, right?
Yeah, I mean.
Don't
you
commit any crimes, don't get kicked out of the country, you'll be fine?
Yeah,
Oh, that sounds about fair to me. Okay. So you don't want to amend it now after this discussion?
not the immigration process, but what I'm saying is, I don't know the current laws for illegal
Look 'em up.
immigrants.
Yeah, look them up.
I put up a website, but it doesn't specify like illegal immigrants and stuff.
Doesn't say you can't do a Google immigration law?
It talks about the permanent residency, citizenship laws, and all that.
Okay, well, maybe I could look up something. But I mean,
So,
it's illegal to cross the border, that's a fact, and so you can be prosecuted for that as a crime. Probably a misdemeanor, not a felony. and then they could, if they enforce it, they can send you back, and that's usually how it works.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to work.
There's just like maybe deport some the illegal immigrants here, like they send them back to their countries, or they just make it like, I don't know, build a wall or something, you know, like enforce the laws, and maybe empower the homeland security, you know, to kind of do a better job, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very difficult. It's very political because a lot of people say to enforce immigration laws is racist. Is it racist?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Do you think so?
Mm.
I mean, are we saying it's okay for Canadians to come in but not people south of our border? Or is it illegal for them to come in too?
Do Canadians come in illegally as well?
Both.
Some do. Why not?
I mean,
Are we saying though it's okay for you because you're white?
No.
Okay, well.
They shouldn't be allowing it either.
Technically, so, you know, alright, so it seems like the document is fine in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the enforcement issue
Yeah,
you have the problem with.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna change the Constitution, I might suggest right now there's a big okay, so structure of government might be an issue. We have the three branches of government. We have the executive branch, right, which executes the law. We have the legislative branch, which makes the law, and we have the judicial branch, which interprets the law. Well, since Donald Trump's presidency, he did a wonderful job of putting his type of judges on the bench. There are a bunch of seats that were open. He made nominations. The Republicans had the Senate, and he nominated and they confirmed all these judges. He got Amy Coney Barrett in, he got Kavanaugh in, and he got Neil Gorsuch in. That is unheard of to get 3 Supreme Court justices in. That tipped the power of the Supreme Court from a 5-4 left-leaning liberal court to a 6-3-ish. You know, Roberts, we always assume is really not a right-leaning judge, but he was appointed by Bush. There's a 6-3-ish majority now in the favor of the right wing, okay, or strict constructionists, okay? We're still going to talk a bit about that. And the Democrats don't like that. They hate it and they're really upset about that. So what do they want to do now? They want to add more seats to the Supreme Court so that they can nominate more judges to the Supreme Court so that they could do what? Pack the court with people they want on there. Now, there is nowhere in the Constitution that tells us how many Supreme Court justices there should be. But right now, the debate is whether or not they should add more so that they could get their judicial way. Because they believe that you should be able to interpret the Constitution in a way that gets the result. That is, they believe in the living constitutional way. If we want to change something, we do it through the courts, and it's treating the court as though it's another legislative body. You'll hear the criticism, they are legislating from the bench. Okay, courts legislate from the bench, and that's, sometimes people call that a bad thing, and other people will say, no, that's good because they're righting wrongs. I say even if they're righting wrongs, it's a bad thing because it says, makes the Constitution say whatever the judge wants it to say, right? And now when you start packing the court with these kinds of judges, basically what you're doing is you're turning the judicial branch into another legislative branch. We already have a legislative branch. If you want to make a law, don't do it through the courts. Do it through the legislative body and then go through the courts to interpret said law appropriately. That's my view. So if I were to amend the Constitution, if I had my way, and I believe the states should do this, heck, I believe the legislative branch should do this if they believed truly in the separation of powers, and if they really wanted to hold on to the power that they do have as legislators, not making themselves basically worthless. I would amend the Constitution to say there shall be no more, there shall be a Supreme Court of no more than 9 judges. Solidifying the number of judges they have now. So that if you lose an election, and if you lose the majority, even if I lose the majority of the court, if I come into power as the president and have the majority of the House and Senate, I cannot just change the form of government because we have the power to do so and because we are upset that we lost. Okay? Because ultimately, that is what happened. The liberals, Democrats, were in power for a long time. Finally, the court was remade, and now they are no longer in power. They are really upset about it. And rather than just play by the rules of the game and say we lost this part of history until the Supreme Court changes again, because it will, I promise you it will. Instead of that, they're like, forget it. We want to change the rules of the game. Actually, they want to work within the rules of the game to change that governmental branch so that it has more power. And I believe that to be a very dangerous game. Okay? Because you're just creating another legislative body. So if I were to change the rules of the game, because that's what amending the Constitution is, if it's changing the Constitution is the rules of the game, I guess I'm changing the rules of the game. I'm changing the rules of the game to say, we got to keep it the way it is. And I know I may be saying that as the guy who's trying to hold on to power. But I would have said that even while we were outside of power, which was 2 years ago. Because you don't want to change your constitutions for light and transient reasons, just because you lost. It is a dangerous precedent because what you want in a government is stability. And that would be my amendment. Okay? Now, if by chance we win, by we, that'd be me and my party, wins the next midterm elections and we take back the House and the Senate, which I assume we have a good chance of doing, okay? I would love to talk to one of my either senators or my congressman and say, hey, or even talk to Greg Abbott and say, look, man, we got to get this done. This would be a great opportunity, and maybe I can suggest it. Maybe it would happen, and maybe I'll make history. Probably not. But it'd be pretty cool, huh? The Shannon Amendment to the Constitution. Right? Thou shalt only be 9 seats. Unless some crazy thing happened. But what could that be? I mean, historically, the number of seats has shifted a bit, okay? It's not always been 9. Just to let you know that, all right? Heck, we can go down to 3 for all I care.
What about they limit the number of terms?
Oh yeah, well, why do the judges not have term limits?
I mean, that's what I don't understand.
It's because they're supposed to be non-political, apolitical, right? They're not supposed to be going up for election to try to win your vote. Okay, and if they have term limits, maybe it's just you get a limit, you're done. Boom, you're out. So you're not. But the idea was they were lifetime appointments, and as long as they were in what's called good behavior, they're good unless impeached.
Yeah, because like some of the judges may kind of like work in favor of some presidents, this and that. So let's say if
I agree with you.
If your president's term is over, the judges are also like they're also.
Oh wow! So you bring in your own judges?
No, like I mean,
when the presidential term is over, you leave, right? That's what you just said, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, but at least
No.
there's some term limit.
But what you are saying, at least, is term limits that they could stay for, say, 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 10 years.
All right, 10 years.
And
Call it a career, 20 years, not 50 years, whatever.
Mm.
But it will, because Amy Coney Barrett, she's like in her, I don't even know, she's got a lot of kids, but I still think she's young 30s, young 40s, or late 30s, maybe. Or maybe mid 40s, but still, she could be on there till she's 80, man. That's 35 years on the bench. That's a long time to be making very solid decisions, okay? So so if you wanted term limits, that would be, you would have to amend the Constitution to do that. Now, what amendment would you do? I mean, what would you do? You'd have to get, what would you do? You have to get either a constitutional convention by 2/3 of the states, or 2/3 of the House and the Senate. Okay? Very difficult to do. Here's something. How about getting rid of the post office?
No, I don't think that's.
You don't think we should get rid of the post office? It costs us a lot of money, loses a lot of mail.
No, I don't think it's a good idea.
Why? Because we don't have UPS and all these other private mail carriers.
I mean, those private mailers are kind of expensive compared to the post
Actually,
office.
it costs the same amount of money to move a letter. The difference is, you're paying part of that in your taxes. See, the post office gets subsidized by your tax dollars.
Mhm.
And they don't make money, they lose money. So they keep losing money year after year, but it doesn't matter. They don't care. You know why? Because you pay the bill through your taxes. So you say it's more expensive. No, you'll pay, you just don't know you're paying the post office. Your taxes go out and it goes to the post office. Every time you pay for gas, there's money that goes out in taxes. Every time you pay for a product that has sales tax on it, you're paying taxes. Every time you get a paycheck and they take out income tax, right? You're paying taxes. Every time, there are so many taxes around. There were taxes on you going to school. So all those taxes, even if it doesn't have a price tag on there that specifically says USPS, United States Postal Service, you were still paying the Postal Service, okay? So, but I like that idea, get rid of the post office. But you like getting rid of the what? Term limits. You want to get, that would require a constitutional amendment. So too with term limits on, a lot of people think that legislators should have term limits. Like if I run for office and I become a House, become a congressman in the House of Representatives, I could run till the day I'm dead. Keep going, die on, in there, on the floor. Nancy Pelosi's been there forever. Elijah Cummings just recently died. Ted Kennedy died. John McCain died, senator. Worked as a senator till the day, senators and congressmen until the day they died, and they're going to keep going. Why? And we're talking 30, 40 years. Look at Patrick Leahy, Guy is so old, and nothing against age, but, but guess what? They don't have term limits. You can keep going. But if you wanted to change that, what would it require? It would require them, the very people we're talking about, to vote themselves out of a job by 2/3 in both houses. Or finally, the states to go, okay, enough's enough. You're not going to do it, we're going to do it. Did you come up with one yet?
I have not.
So if you read the Constitution, you go, okay, read the Constitution, read the amendments, you go, wait a minute, something's wrong here. We should change this. That'd be, how about you, Lay? Come up with anything? Was it at least interesting? Okay, good. When we get back, I want you to read all of the amendments to the Constitution. Read the Bill of Rights. All the amendments. I want you to know them, what they are, okay? And because I'm going to quiz you on it, I'm going to say, and you'll be able to refer back to it, of course. Okay, I don't want you, but read it. Get to know your rights that are written. Remember, you have rights that are not written. Okay? We're going to be talking about campaigning and voting next time. So how to elect your leaders, how to become elected if you want to. All right? All right. Again, you could come on any day since we're packing them in here. All right? So, all right. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.